Alicia Powell with Gateway Pundit Exclusives. Today we're going to be talking with J6 political prisoner Jake Lang. Jake has been locked in the DC gulag for months in solitary confinement. He's been transferred from jail to jail, dealing with assaults from correctional officers, assaults from other inmates in the jail. And while he's in solitary confinement, Jake is doing so much to help other J6 political prisoners who are in the same situation. He's helping them find attorneys, raise money for their commissary funds and all their expenses that they have to burden while they're locked away. Jake has a new documentary coming out, Patriots Day. It will commemorate his third year of incarceration for protesting on January 6th. Jake also had saved two people's lives that day during the Capitol riot. Philip Anderson and Tommy Tatum's life. And I found footage of also Jake trying to lift Roseanne Boyland up while she was being brutally beaten by police officers. Lila Morris was beating her unconscious body, we can see in the footage. And Jake tried to save her to no avail. Jake, thank you so much for joining us today. Happy New Year. How are things in the DC gulag? How are you holding up?
Thanks, Alicia, for having me. God bless you. Merry Christmas, and it's tough. Obviously, that's an understatement. Being my third Christmas away from my family, and watching the calendar just seem to disappear. It's been just around the corner. Is going to be 3 complete years in the gulag. I've been moved to 13 different prisons, and I've been locked up for 1,080 days without a trial. But the holiday spirit, the spirit of Jesus Christ, and that beautiful gift that God gave us keeps me going through this hard time. I wish I was out there with my family, though. But there's deeper purpose in our struggle than our individual liberty. Right now, we're making a stand for all of America. So it's worth it at the end of the day. If God's going to use us this way to wake up our country, then so be it.
Also, let's talk, Jake, about the really large donation you received for your endeavors on sponsorj6.com. You've raised approximately $200,000 in about 10 days. You have a January 6th legal fund, and Patrick Byrne just donated quite a bit of money. You're using this organization to help other J6ers secure proper legal counsel, to oftentimes help their family members out who are burdening the expense of the breadwinners in their families being locked up, and helping other J6ers get enough money for their commissary. Without at least, I don't know, $100 or $200 a month, they won't be able to afford everything, their basic necessities. Food is no good in the jail, so they're able to use vending machines and buy special things like that from commissary. Tell us about the sponsor J6.com.
It's about that. It's a blessing. The American people really showed up for us. So through the generosity of Patrick Byrne, he promised to make a huge matching pledge to whatever we donated, up to $500,000. Whatever we were able to get in donations for j6legal.org, which was the main donator. We also have the other organization, sponsor j6.com, but this one was for j6legal.org, and we raised about $185,000 in 9 days. Since then, it's almost up to the full $250,000, but just before Christmas, on Christmas Day, we had raised from $270,000 to like $455,000, and just so, we're humbled, and it's amazing to see how much American people support us. And we got articles out on Gateway Pundit, did multiple articles for us, and Epic Times, and we did so many different interviews, just telling the American people, if you're ever looking for an opportunity to support the Jan Sixers, right now we have an amazing, matching bonus. So we made it. We got all the way up to $455,000. Patrick Burns donated $185,000 to the j6legal.org foundation, the fund that we do, and to two other January 6 organizations. So, it's been a huge blessing. Over $555,000 that he ended up giving at the end of the day. So it was a Christmas miracle, and God's blessed us with the biggest win we've ever had in fundraising here, right into our third year of incarceration.
Hopefully, we're able to move mountains and end this political persecution, and you are all released, and we get on the offense this year. Tell us where that money goes and how it's going to help all the wrongfully incarcerated January 6th political prisoners.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we've been doing this for like 2 years now. It's been a blessing. It's kept me very busy inside my prison cells, um, calling attorneys, trying to figure out who's got their heart in the right place, who's willing to work for reasonable retainer fees. So we publish out our transparency reports and stuff, so people can actually see where the money's gone thus far. We've accounted for $281,000 of the funds we raised, and then pretty much everything else we raised was brand new here in the last couple weeks. And so we get attorneys that help do, trial defense, even some appellate work, meaning they're trying to overturn these wrongful convictions in the appellate courts after Gen Sixers have been, railroaded by this despotic tyranny in the justice system we're seeing. But we also have done things like change of venue motion, polling, paying the polling companies to do that, expert witnesses, medical doctors to examine Jan Sixers' medical reports to help them strengthen their bond motions of why they need to be out of jail. We've done tons of different things, but, it's very meaningful work because really what I tell people is a lot of the Jan Sixers, they get, rounded up by the FBI in the middle of the night, their doors kicked down, then they get thrown into the gulag, and they get appointed to them some liberal public defender that absolutely hates them and says things to them like, you guys were there that day to seal our vote. And, how can you have somebody represent you who does not have your best interest at heart, that is even a political opponent and, one of these wacko liberal, kind of George Soros prosecutors or George Soros public pretenders. So what we do is we step in and we try to find them a good attorney that's willing to go the distance and fight for them hard, private counsel that has a backbone. And so we've done that for over 20 Jan Sixers, and we're going to do it for a ton more now that we have, all these new funds available to us. And it's been a blessing to be, able to have an impact like this on the community and to hear the real ways, the tangible ways it's changed people's lives when I talk to my Jan 6 brothers and their family members and stuff that wouldn't have been able to afford an attorney any other way. It's heartfelt and it's humbling, and I'm appreciative to everybody who supports us.
After a year-long concentrated investigation into January 6th, I've learned how the FBI or the DOJ is coercing defendants into taking plea deals, interrogating them and manipulating them to say President Trump told them to go there and overthrow the U.S. government, or the Proud Boys sent them to the Capitol on January 6th to violently overthrow the government. Has the DOJ or these federal prosecutors or the FBI tried to coerce or torture you into taking a plea deal?
They have, by just the nature of keeping me incarcerated for 3 years without a trial, is pretty much the ultimate coercement into taking a plea deal. Like, hey, we'll get you out of here sooner. You'll actually get kind of a resolution to your legal matters. But on my initial arrest, I pretty much railed against the FBI officers that arrested me, telling them that the founding fathers were rolling over in their graves, that they're redcoats and they're tyrants and they're traitors to the constitutional oath they took. And so they never even sat me down to ask me questions because they pretty much knew my stance, that I wasn't anywhere near wanting to talk to them or taking a plea deal or working with these, God bless, they're despicable, these FBI agents that are willfully going and destroying our Constitution and terrorizing American citizens by dragging them out of their homes at gunpoint. I pray for their salvation and their repentance, but they know what they're doing. They're grown men, they're smart men, and they know that they're part of a rogue organization that is abusing its power and breaking our country apart in horrible ways. So I don't really have too much pity for them, knowing that they are fully capable guys that if they just exercise their God-given sovereignty instead of just following orders like these, spineless lackeys that they are, and terrorizing people. That maybe we would have a stand against this tyranny instead of all these government three-letter agencies just being a part of it, and they just say, "Oh, sorry, I'm just following orders." It's
Yep.
horrible, but yeah, that coercement that I've seen has just basically been through the form of, hey, take a 9-year plea deal, 1 day offer 2.5 years ago, or we're taking it off the table. And as of right now, I have no plea offer, and I would never take a plea deal to these tyrants.
Jake, I know that your attorneys filed a motion with the Supreme Court on the 1512 obstruction of official proceeding charges. These are bogus charges that have never been used to prosecute protesters until January 6th. It's a charge that's punishable by a 20-year prison sentence. Your attorneys filed a motion on the 1512 charges with the Supreme Court. It got picked up by another defendant, Fisher. If the Supreme Court overturns these 1512 charges, how is that going to impact your case and the situation for January 6ers overall? Are you guys going to go home after that? Is there a better chance you'll be released?
It's monumental for the Jan 6 community. I think for Americans out there that are very worried, they have lost their faith. They've been disenfranchised by the justice system, seeing thousands of people being railroaded through it, sentenced to decades in prison. They're wondering, where is Lady Liberty? Where is Lady Justice here? Is she still blind, or does if you have the scarlet letter, MAGA or the Trump on you, if you're a Trump supporter, America First Patriot, that you cannot get a fair jury trial, you cannot even get a fair plea bargain, you're being selectively prosecuted. So for those people out there that feel that way, I understand how you feel. Believe me, 3 years in prison without a trial and watching tons of great men being sold down the river by our Justice Department has been horrible. But this decision by the Supreme Court, which was, amazing. Norm Patterson, Steve Metcalf spent a lot of time and energy putting together this amazing motion. Fisher and Miller, my other two compatriots, filed in with us. They took a lot of what Norm and Steve put together, used it in their filings. The Supreme Court picked up Fisher. We basically we quarterbacked it, and Fisher ran into the end zone. He caught the touchdown pass. The Jan Sixers scored a massive touchdown, huge victory. And so now we have the opportunity for the highest court in the land to review whether the Jan Sixers were there with corrupt intentions to obstruct an official proceeding. And everybody knows that we were there as constitutionalists and election integrity protesters, making sure that a stolen election wasn't just going to go on uncontested, that the will of the people to have the vote sent back to the state legislatures and recounted, and make sure that this fraudulent election wasn't just, pushed through Congress without a single objection. We were there to make sure that didn't happen. We had no corrupt intentions. In fact, we were like the last line of defense for the, communist coup d'etat that was happening inside the building that day. Them trying to install Joe Biden as a puppet regime leader, bought and paid for by China. The American patriots stood up and said peacefully, we will not let this happen. And of course, we were famously attacked and murdered on the steps of our own Capitol. We had to defend ourselves.
Jake, all of the left wing protesters who rioted and all throughout the Capitol building, whether it be during Kavanaugh's confirmation or a few weeks ago in the Capitol, the pro Hamas demonstrators, they weren't getting handed 1512 charges. This is not even the proper legal definition of what 1512 is. This is a creative prosecution.
The Enron financial case, the most prime example of the DOJ being weaponized against Jan Sixers and conservatives, that they use these kind of laws codes to attack people with 20-year felonies. Give me a sec. I'll be right back. Using global telling.
Jake, you're also about to release a new documentary, Patriots Day. Tell us about it. I believe it's gonna be live streaming on Gateway Pundit on January 6th.
This is going to be epic. I can't wait for the American people to see this. Basically, I mean, like my recent documentary before that, the first battle of the Second American Revolution, Freedom Isn't Free, Jan 6th. It's a very hardcore 1776 look at January 6th, where the narrative, because we have this very popular narrative that's very true, that January 6th was a Fedsurrection, a complete setup. But being a man who was in the crowd, who was defending my life and defending the lives of the people around me, and trying to defend this country from a communist takeover, there's another story I believe that is a more historical, stronger message, that January 6th was the day where free men stood against tyranny and women. And we were a unit. We were the American people. United we stand. And though we did not come with any violence or any intentions whatsoever of being in any kind of confrontation, when the people that were stealing our country and their armed, lackeys attacked us, we defended our country. And I love to preach that message because it's what people need to hear. It's what people need to see. They need to know that we're strong when we're united, and that though these tyrants and these wicked people may turn their weapons against us, you already know the outcome of January 6th. We ended up inside the building, and the corrupt politicians scattered like cockroaches. And I have to put it that way because it's the truth. At the end of the day, historically, the Jan 6 Patriots were inside the building, and all of the people that are trying to destroy our country ran outside. The People's House, once again, had the people inside it. And that wasn't our intention. I didn't even know that was going to happen. Nobody did. I'm dressed in a dress shirt. Historically, you can't deny the facts that the tyrants left the building, and we, the people, the constitutionalists, were inside trying to defend our country from what's already been happening the last 3 years.
It's so bogus too that they call this an insurrection. It's not like Malays came with arsenals of weapons and firearms and AK-47s and all this. And then you were wearing people wore gas masks. You were wearing a gas mask. Who would have thought the police would be spraying you with CS gas? You needed the gas mask that day. I wonder how many people had to go to the emergency room that day are still suffering from the detrimental side effects of breathing in all that CS gas. You also saved 2 people's lives that day. I found footage of you also trying to pick up Roseanne Boylan from the ground. So the police killed people that day. More people would have been killed if patriots, good people, didn't come to the rescue.
100%. And, the thing we have to remember is that when a uniformed officer breaks their oath of office and turns against their constitutional sworn oath to protect the American people and to make sure that our constitutional republic remains such that they're no longer police officers. They're redcoats, they're tyrants, and though I never want to hurt anybody, when they turn their weapons and kill Roseanne Boylan in front of me and try to murder other people, you have to ask yourself, as a man in that position, what do? Do you run away, or do you stand and defend people's lives? And, I made the decision by God's grace to try to save lives and defend people that day. And so this documentary actually follows my day throughout the Capitol, a Patriots Day at the Capitol. And it's kind of like I believe in the future, January 6th will be a national holiday called Patriots Day. And so if people are wondering what I did at the Capitol, some of the famous, videos and footage of me with the baseball bat, with the gas mask, with the riot shield, what that entire day entailed, being somebody on the ground, scrapping and fighting for your life and to defend women's lives there and elderly people and Philip Anderson and Tommy Tatum, how I came to be in the right place, the right time to save them, and even trying to save the life of Roseanne Boylan. I didn't try to resuscitate her, but I did try to pick her up off the bottom of the ground. She was at the bottom of a dog pile, and I got my hands on her, and I tried pulling her out of there, but, she died. God
she
forbid,
must have
God
been
took her
already
home,
dead because you were able
She must have been already dead because you were able to pick up Tommy Tatum, who's like twice your size, Philip Anderson, who's also a tall, big guy, but we couldn't pick up Roseanne. She must have been dead already. That made her heavier, unable to pick her up.
She was in such a position, which you guys will see in the documentary that comes out January 6th at noon on Gateway Pundit. The direct link to watch it, which will be hosted on blessednewstv.com. Gateway Pundit will be embedding that video in the article, but it'll be on PatriotsDayMovie.com. That's Patriots with an S. PatriotsDayMovie.com on January 6th. You'll be able to go and watch that, guys. And you'll see, the fact that Roseanne was, this is the critical thing. Every single time I was able to get somebody off of Roseanne, the Capitol Police mercilessly pummeled another person or another few people on top of her. It was a dog pile, a reverse stampede. The Capitol Police throwing people down the set of steps and spraying us with chemical weapons as we're swimming through a body of people trying to save the people at the bottom from being crushed to death. And Roseanne, unfortunately, in the most horrific death, was trampled and sprayed with chemical weapons and even beaten to death by the Capitol Police. And I don't know how you guys were raised. I'm talking to the audience right now, but I was raised to defend women and defend innocent people and defend those who can't defend themselves. And after that happened is when you see the scenes of me with the riot shield and me with the other men forming a defensive perimeter, a defensive line between the innocent protesters and the Capitol Police. They were hitting us with metal batons and all kinds of weapons, rubber bullets and stuff. So we had to arm ourselves to defend ourselves too. And, when you see the images and the videos of me with the bat in there, it's when somebody's clubbing you over the head, I got my head smashed open with a metal baton. You have to defend yourself. You have to get something comparable to defend yourself and defend the lives of the people around you. And so you'll see this stuff and you'll get a good look at perspective of January 6th from my point of view.
If this happened at a left-wing protest where people were getting killed by police, there would be left-wing protesters being awarded millions of dollars. If the police or the correctional officers were treating left-wing protesters the way January 6ers have been treated, you would also be getting awarded millions of dollars by the District of Columbia and the BOP. Unfortunately, we don't see enough pushback. I don't see how we're going to get on the offense. Hopefully you're changing that, Jake. I also want to know how this has impacted your faith, Jake. I know you guys, the J6ers have been deprived of food, starved in solitary confinement, beaten by jail guards. When you go to court, it's just freezing hell injustice in that place. The judges placating with prosecutors, I've observed, and there's 100% conviction rate nearly on J6 jury trials. How has your faith in God helped you persevere through all of this?
This kind of situation can either make you or completely break you. And I just let God make me into a stronger version of myself just by completely trusting in Him, because you can't go into the courtroom trusting in the Lady Justice anymore. And so where do you put your trust as a person? You have to put your trust in God, knowing that even through this intense struggle, all of this injustice, this miscarriage that we're seeing here of justice, that He's got a plan that goes beyond the surface level, beyond what you can see in the temporary, beyond the four walls, the whitewashed, dirty walls of the basement of the Washington, D.C. jail gulag that I'm in right now in solitary confinement. What is God's plan through this? Not just for me, but for America. And I believe, with all my heart that He's using the J6 political prisoners and our plight and the way we've been treated by our own government to wake up tens of millions of people to the realization that modern day tyranny does exist. America is not America, the land of the free and the home of the brave right now. America is in distress, and we're truly in a shadow warfare right now, the deep state versus the constitutionalists. And we need to arm ourselves with the Word of God and fight against these, like you said, these satanic globalists. They arm themselves with our ignorance, and they just try to make us as dumbed down and as completely powerless as possible and centralize all the power in Washington, D.C. here. But you don't realize it, maybe, but all the power is in we the people. The words of Thomas Jefferson, power is inherent in the people and those who give the governing, meaning that we form our government. And if we just remember that, we can do a lot. And God has given us these rights, and we need to stand on his word and know that Jesus himself is able to overcome all things, and we can overcome all things through him. There's no power greater than the name of Christ. And when we lean on his name, we can make it through the darkest nights and the most terrible storms.
Well, I think we're a lot better off in this January 6th situation than we were a year ago or 2 years ago. Thank God the COVID mandates have waned because God knows what you guys are going through in prison, not succumbing to the COVID poison shot mandates. And we're all in better communication now. I hope to see the work that you're doing with J6 Legal Fund become monumental and help everyone get better representation in court. And hopefully we can file some lawsuits against this government and this courthouse and these Metropolitan Police Department, Muriel Bowser, Nancy Pelosi, and get on the offense here. And maybe you have some of that in work, Jake. I'd like to give you the last of give you the floor and say whatever it is you have to say. I know our time is limited, and we're grateful to you be able to get you on a phone call from solitary confinement. What's it like in there, and how do you stay so positive? I know a lot of the times we could be having a bad day out here, and I'll get on the phone with you, and you're positive and you're continuing to stay optimistic and creative. But why don't you elaborate how it is you're able to stay so.
Thank you. God, I got to give glory to God. It's not me. I was a lost soul wandering around New York City like some crazy club kid, and God really grabbed my heart and turned me to a man that's been made in His image, and I just pursue Him every day. And I wake up in the Bible. I've got a tiny little window where I don't get any direct sunlight, but when I move my sheet away from it, I get enough sunlight to read the Bible in the morning. I get filled up with God's Word. I get a solid workout in every day, and then when I'm not working out or reading God's Word and praying, I'm on that tablet sending messages to my little team here. God's put a great group of volunteers. My fiance Rachel, God bless you, she's been amazing. Juan Kwan, Kelly Yoder, a few other assistants. Alicia helps out, and we have Tommy Tatum and James Brett and Daniel Goodwin. We have this core group here that we formed, as well as some of the other Jan 6 organizations that help out and make this community what it is. But my personal camp and my father, Ned Lang, as well too, has been the selflessness of these people and the love that God has put in their heart for me in this country and this movement has made it so I have really no limitations to what I can do because God is not limited. He is the unlimited God. And so through these prison walls, no matter, I can ask people, hey, I need some help. That's some of the strongest words in the English language, when you ask somebody for help and they have a good heart and they're willing to help you out. And so we just organize, we make websites, we make fundraisers, we make videos, we write books, we do everything we possibly can do to stand up. And it's all because God's given us the purpose and the internal strength, the conviction to resolve that constitution. That word constitution comes from inside you. It's your manly or womanly constitution to face adversity and to overcome it through faith and through hope and through God's love. And through all of these things, we've had so many wins, and we're looking forward to 2024, Alicia, is going to be the year of vindication for the January Sixers. And I speak that in the prophetic. I speak that to the angels in heaven, and I speak that to all those.
You have won.
Jake, tell us again where we can support you, where we can support J6 Legal, how we can stay in touch with you.
Yeah, if anyone wants to email me, just j6truth@gmail.com. If you guys want to contribute to the January 6th Legal Fund, that's been so amazing, go to j6legal.org. And those are the two main links. And guys, don't forget, January 6th, noon Eastern, PatriotsDayMovie.com, the huge premiere. You're going to love it. Alicia, thank you so much for being awesome and being just a stalwart patriot. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless the Gateway Pundit.
God bless you, Jake. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you for using Global Telling.